be okay, then go back to work or open our schools and our businesses. I think, you know, right now mitigating the problem is more of a need than totally solving the problem. So that being the case, our leaders, our citizens should really continue to be sensitized with COVID. At the same time, doing the mitigations that will control it, the spread. A lot of Gambians are undergoing through a lot of sufferings economically because their businesses have been closed. The students are not having the education they need because they are at home. So we need to come with some solutions that will help us achieve these things at the same time paving our way through COVID until it is totally eradicated. So that being said, I'm gonna let the panelists jump in and start with the analysis and giving their opinions how to control COVID at the same time reopening our country. Um, so who's gonna build the card first? Alice and Sam.
I was saying Alice can go.
Alice, you have the floor.
Alice, you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, Sam.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Sawaneh, thank you very much for your information. What I wanted to say is we are in a very critical situation. You know, as you mentioned, I mean, they are both dangerous. You can see, if you take this COVID thing, one side you want to keep the people healthy, the other side you want to save your economy. You know, as a government. That's why many governments are having this problem and then try to see how they can do, because they don't want to stop everything, but to minimize the problems. You know, being reopening the schools or giving the businesses also the chance that they try to get something in. And that is not only in the Gambia, even here in Europe, you know, we are having very strict measures, you know, if you go to shopping and things like that. And here they are trying to control it. When they see that it's getting more, that's why they monitor everything. If they see, even the last weeks, it was increasing and they knew it, then they try to impose certain restrictions again, you know, try to balance it. But it's easy only when you have the statistics from the people, exactly, so that you can be always going, and which is easy for here, you know. They can tell almost every day people who are infected, and not only people who get the time to go and you know, make a test or something like that, because hospitals are bringing in the information, you know, from every corner, and this thing they take it to the database and they can control it very well to see is increasing or not, you know, giving exact data, which is very difficult for Africa. I know. Because now, if you take just the Combo area, the data from Combo area, you want to say Gambia is having 10 people die. So that's where it starts. That is wrong. Because you're talking of Gambia, you don't just talk about Serakunda. So unless you get the information from every corner, then you can be exact. So what we're doing in the Gambia is just a proposal method, I could say. You know, I mean, it's serious. You can see it everywhere that people are just dying, you know, every day. And many people don't even know that they have COVID, you know, uh, because it's something what many people don't experience. Like your man there, you know, he said he's having COVID 3 days, he's standing up. So some people are saying it's a fake. Because how comes that some people have COVID and
Our
they
man
even die?
who? Our man who? What's the name?
I will not mention. So I mean, you know where you live.
You mean
So
Trump?
I don't know. Just an example. Some people don't even know when they have it that they are having it. Some are having flu and saying they're having it. So or some are having body pain and saying they're having it. So let's come back to the reopening and so. I'm just happy that the Gambia government is trying to do that because this lockdown or closing of everything has a big impact to the economy, to the education of the kids. You can name it, and that is affecting the whole world. Some countries are trying it, but it's coming again. Like Italy, they are also trying to propose again lockdown and things like that because it's most likely that Europe is having a second phase. You know, so we are only hoping because they are expecting vaccination beginning of the year. So let's hope that, or even earlier than that, so that life can go normal again. So right now, my only advice is when we trying to do that in the Gambia, the government should also make a plan for it because we're talking about COVID. It's not many people understand that reopening means everything goes back to normal. I would advise the Gambia government to take care and make strict plans, you know, so that I mean it doesn't just go up, you know. It can happen because when we think we just send the kids to their classes without any precautions and so that's dangerous, you know. Even the shops, the businesses, reopening, they have to follow certain rules and conditions because it's not just like opening the door, people can come as before, you know. The reopening can be very dangerous if the government don't take care how to do it and the way they have to do it. Because many people think that life comes back to normal. They will not wear mask, and that's even the danger because the reopening, people are having more contact. You have more people coming together. It's even more dangerous than the lockdown side. So you have to be very, very, very careful. I think the Minister of Health will also help in this case, so that we will not have even more cases through this reopening than before. That's my advice from my side. And then the next thing is even the schools. I mean, many parents are very happy that kids go back to school. And if you look at it, many kids they even forget about the school because they've been so, long at home. You know, I mean, there are some teachers who used to keep them busy through the online. I don't know, but that is not something every family is having in the Gambia. So that means it's a disadvantage to certain kids also, which I can understand. So I would only advise because you cannot just say a class 50 kids. So you say reopening and put these 50 kids in the same place again. That is fatal. That's dangerous. You cannot do that. And I know if they want to copy Europe or America, here in Germany, they reopen, but the way they do it is with big precautions too. Because it's a law, you have to keep away 1.5 meter from each other. So if you should have that for every desk, so you'll see these 50 students cannot fit there anymore, but they still have the way to put the other half in another place. You understand? So this is it. So when a Gambia can follow these things, rules also, to make sure that it's reopened, but we are still having COVID there, is the question. What is the? I hope that they work hand in hand, the Minister of Health and the Minister of Education. You know, Not that we have more problems than even before, because reopening is dangerous. People are coming together, teachers are coming together, kids are coming together. The contacts are, it's normal. So people, that means reopening with care, I would call it. You know,
Okay.
because the people with business, they also have to leave. So, but they still have to take care. Here you go to shops, there are shops, there is always a notice that only in the shop, only three people will come inside. So when people come, they have to wait outside. So these are all rules and regulations. Just to, because they don't just want to see five people in that place, in the shop, maybe then they can infect one another. So these are things. I don't know whether the Gambia is prepared for all these things. That's my advice anyway.
All right. Thank you, Alice, for that insight of giving our mitigation that our government and our citizens should, put into consideration. Let's say the size of the crowd, make sure that we don't go a certain number of people, and people don't go into the store at the same time like they're doing here, wearing mask, uh, you know, keeping, social distancing, and at the same time allowing us to go back to work, and then the parents also um, get their kids to get their education, because I don't think Gambia has any online classes going on. So it will be very it will be very, very unpleasant to have to continue the lockdown and not getting the kids to school for a couple of months. I mean, that's gonna be bad. So thank you for that insight. We're gonna allow Alice to come in. I mean, Sam to come in and then give us an insight, and we can dive in more. Sam.
Oh, thanks, Alice. For your analysis, and Mr. Sawaneh too. This is a great topic. It's a great topic, and if you look at the whole world, countries are reopening, but as part of the reopening strategy, they have plans. And like I always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to
Plan to
fail.
fail.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so you have to put some planning in place as to what is going to happen and how are we going to reopen the country, starting with the schools and businesses. As part of the planning, should come communication. What are we going to communicate, and how are we going to communicate to people for the general population can to hear what we're saying? From the communication to the implementation, and from implementation to reinforcement. How do we reinforce after we implement it? So those are key things that I'd like to talk about. And looking at it, for schools, starting with the schools, I think it is very sad to see our country, our kids are still at home and not going to school. They're losing time in education, and education is very valuable. It's very important. This is their future, and our government should do everything they can to make sure that our kids can go back to school and have a continuous education, because our infrastructure does not allow us in Gambia for kids to be at home and be able to do online classes. Because to do online classes, you have to have a good infrastructure everywhere throughout the country, which includes good electricity supply, so and internet, for people to be able to do online classes. And if electricity is out, how are you going to have internet? If some places have electricity but they don't have internet. So all of these are things. So that part is almost impossible to do it in the whole country. So, as part of the planning, the strategy should be, what can we do to get the kids back to school? What are some of the things? Including supplies. The country should make sure that Department of Health should make sure that every school and Department of Education should work with the Department of Health to make sure that, and the government itself, because, and I heard sometime there was a abundant supply of masks. All schools need to have their own supply of masks. because social distancing is also going to be very hard in classrooms in Gambia, because we don't have the room, we don't have the facility, our infrastructure doesn't allow a whole lot of things. So wearing masks should be mandatory and should be enforced, should be implemented and enforced on daily basis. So kids can return to school if we do the proper communication, getting on radio and television and all social media, and announce when schools are going to open, and here is how we're going to do it, and bring up the communication and tell people what is going to happen, who is going to do what and when, and how are we going to implement all of this. So that's very important. Who, what, when, and how. That's very important for people to understand. And that should have been something that should have been advertised on television and radio stations and all social media at least a month ahead, at least 1 month ahead of going back to school. Otherwise, you just say we pick an opening day, kids go back to school without putting a strategy behind it. It's just like a mad. It's going to be a madhouse. It's just like when you open a gate and let animals all go out at the same time. That's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to be in school, and nobody's going to protect themselves. Before you know it, this virus can spread out. It's very important, and in doing so, I always say leaders should lead by example. It's always important. Leaders lead by example, not by force. You cannot lead people by force, because they're going to say, you know what, we're not going to vote for you next time. If you want to force us to do something we don't want, we're not going to do it. And I heard things that were happening in the past, like when they had a coffee on, security forces were going to people's place and finding people sitting at their own gate and tell them to go back in, or tell them to go wear a mask. If they go back into their house, they're not gonna wear a mask inside their own house, because you can't control that. So there were certain things that were happening that really should not have happened. What we need to focus on is how do we open our schools back, and how do we open our businesses. Businesses also. So schools. Before I go to businesses, schools need to be um, equipped with all the supplies that they need. How do we disinfect school every day? A plan in place where and principals should lead by example by wearing a mask themselves every day, and requiring every teacher to wear a mask, so that teachers can enforce to make sure that students wear a mask. Any student that comes to class without a mask, either send them to the principals, or in fact, uh, classroom teachers should have a supply of masks in their classes. A student walks in because they forgot their mask at home, they need to be given a mask. Here, all students were supplied masks. Even though they have computers, they have access to do e-learning, but they still open schools in our area. Kids went to school. Those who choose to stay home stayed home. But that communication was out a long time ago for parents to decide: do you want your kids to do e-learning and stay home and continue to learn online, or go back to school? If you're going back to school, here are the rules and regulations. If you're going to stay at school at home to do e-learning, here is what you need to do. Very specific, very clear communication. That's very important, so that kids follow. And my kids are going back to school. They wear a mask every day to school. Even when entering the school bus, they have to wear a mask. School bus picks them up right in front of my house here on my street here, and they wear a mask to get into the school bus. It's an enforcement. When they get a class, they do the same thing. In school, that classes are teachers are supposed to give them a mask break, a time when they can take their mask out, when they can have recess, they can go outside and get fresh air, take your mask out, but practice social distancing at that point. There are certain things that they can do in private. And like I said, supplies, equipment, sanitizers, all of that need to be available in school. Now, when you go to businesses, Also, as part of the same communication that they will advertise for everyone, all businesses need to be required to have mask policy. They need to post signs on their doors letting people know that you cannot enter here without a mask, period. They need to enforce that. And if anybody that walks in the door without a mask, guess what? You can't enter. I'm sorry, but we cannot serve you. You have to wear a mask. They need to. I know it's going to be tough in Gambia to do something like that because business people are after money. And when you go into a business just to gain money, you're in the wrong business. Getting making profit in business is a result of running a great business. It's not. You shouldn't go to business because I just want to make money. If you do that, you're going to get greedy and you will end up losing. That's what happened. You're going to end up losing in one way or the other in certain areas. But anyway,
Right.
businesses need to be required to enforce mask policy if they want to open their doors to the public. That way, they also enforce the same thing. Because when the government says something, first the government need to lead it by example. When the president says we need to practice social distancing, we need to practice wearing a mask. The president himself needs to start wearing a mask, which I've seen him in public wearing a mask, but I've not seen any social distancing. And the president also should lead by example by saying, well, since the country is under curfew or is under certain restrictions, there should not be any mass gathering. So the president should have canceled the tour that he did. His advisor should have told him that if he didn't see it himself. But
Right.
because he needed to lead by example. This is how you lead people. Lead by example, not by force, like I said. So it needs to be practiced from the top. People need to see our president wearing a mask all the time, which he does. And I'll commend him for doing that. But what I don't see is the social distancing is not happening. Mass gathering is really in violation of this COVID-19 procedures or policies. There's so much mass gathering, going to lay foundations, going to open certain stuff. President could have done that with just his motorcade and go do it. Invite the media stations to televise it so that everybody can watch it rather than having everybody with him. But anyway, again, going back to businesses, policies and procedures need to be in place so people can freely go out with a mask and go to the markets, go to the stores, and go buy and do their daily businesses. Business operators can operate their businesses knowing that they are following the guidelines without having to put a curfew in place. If they can just enforce, because people, I mean, a coffee in place really hurt the businesses. It really hurt the businesses in Gambia. People are complaining all over the place. They were complaining they're not getting the businesses. This is what they depend on. This is how they survive. This is how they feed their family. If you shut their businesses or you make a restriction from things that need to happen. And you put that in place and make sure it's communicated well, make sure it's implemented, and make sure there's a reinforcement in place. I think we can go back to normal. Stage three, this is where we go. Stage four, and up to the last stage by slowly and surely opening the country in schools. And everybody can be happy
Right.
and we can still control the spread of the coronavirus. I think that's what I wanted to say.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank you
sir.
so much, Sam, for that insight. Again, those are things that you know our folks can implement to get the country reopened. It's very essential for us to know that this COVID is not going anytime soon. It's sad, but this is the fact. Look at the flu. Look at other sicknesses that came and then they still around. So the mindset should be, let's find a way how to deal with COVID while COVID is here. Let's find a way how not to scare people, but to sensitize them to apply precautions so that we can mitigate the situation. Let's give assistance to people who have lost their jobs, people who cannot feed their family. Let's look into ways how we can mitigate the problem and still be functional. Because what I've seen is a lot of stores, even here in the US, has closed. Stores like Models, they are losing businesses. Okay, when is this gonna bounce back? When are we gonna be back? We don't know for sure. And this is why it's very important, as a country, you need to make sure that you make profits at all costs, at all times, because some of these things you can fall back. Let's say Gambia is in debt. We are far in debt, even before this new administration came to power, right? So the first thing we should be doing is having the technocrats, having people, essential people, come on the table, the brains of the Gambia, to try to focus on the economy. That's the first thing we should have been done, rather than doing politics as usual, rather than being divisive, rather than breaking the coalition, rather than doing things that don't make sense, dragging us into poverty more and more. We should have bring the think tank we spoke about. If we had that in place, put the brains together, put the economics into work, we gonna find a way how to revive. Remember when this country, came from that dictatorship, 2016, we had a lot of international support. We are losing them. Why? Our own act, our own greed. Today we will be able to provide each and every citizen a food on the table if we had really worked with the international community. Gambia was gonna be a model of Africa. We remove the dictatorship, we will be an ideal country. We will be a country with hope that the West and other areas would look at us as a model. Listen, there are a lot of people who want to give, but they want to give it to the people who deserve it. I can tell you that. It's not every giving is a motive behind, to undermine something. But certain things are, people want to use that as a sample. So we came from dictatorship. We had all those, hopes. We could have bring our economy to a point that today, trust me, we will be able to embattle COVID. We could have bring our economy to the point that we will be having so much money to pay our debts, the debts that Jamel left with us. But all is because we didn't have a plan. Like Sam always said, if you fail to plan, if you plan to fail, you will fail to plan, or vice versa. So I think right now with the COVID situation, we shouldn't leave it like that. We should go back and reopen our places. Let the government and public officials and citizens, let's make it a point of duty to make sure that we apply safety precaution, because COVID is not going anytime soon. I'm sorry to say this, but this is what the medical scientists are saying. We have to learn how to live with this disease. We have to cover our nose. It's not pretty, especially if you're having those makeups and things that make you look nice. Now you have to cover your nose. Like nobody is gonna see your beauty. But listen, this is what we have to live with. That's the creation of, I don't know what we can, mankind or God, you name it. But this is what we see ourselves in. So let's forget about all those. Let's look at what make us safe. Make sure that our children only go out when it's needed. Make sure that we only go out when it's needed, and then let us not overcrowd the population. Having to have a rally in the middle of COVID as a leader, as a political party, what kind of sense does that make? What are you trying to tell people? Oh, hey, there's COVID in the Gambia, but guess what? I want to win. I want that office. What kind of stuff is that? Come on, man. You have to lead by an example. If you are a head of state, wear a mask. Don't be like Donald Trump, and he end up getting it. Wear a mask. If you are head of state, practice social distancing. If you want to have a rally, make it sizable and let people social distance. Like Sam said, use the media. You have a lot of media station, GRTS, all kind of media station, no matter big or small. Use them to cover it and share it to your folks. We don't need to see a size of a rally to determine that you're gonna win or not. That's not like Trump usually said. My size of rally is bigger than Biden's size of rally. That's not the point. We don't need to see Barrow's size of rally compared to UDP size of rally and say Barrow is gonna win or UDP is gonna win. Let's forget about all this. Let's focus on our citizens. We are not here to infect our people. I posted it the other time on Facebook. These leaders, they are actually making the situation worse with their this political rally. Just because you are an incumbent doesn't mean you should use us by doing this rally and spreading COVID. We need to stop this. Your office to be in the office don't matter to us that much. What matters to us is our health and if you can do the job. So
right?
listen, man, folks, let's
Mm.
let's apply mitigation. Let's open our businesses. I wonder why this National Assembly proposed this before, right? To open earlier. But I think the government said that they were gonna extend the state of emergency. Am I correct? A while ago.
Yeah, I think yes.
This is what we should have even been doing. We should have opened our mosque a long time ago. Listen, I understand if you pray, you breathe on the mask, COVID might be, transmitted. But if you wear a good mask, you cover your nose. Even if you breathe on when you are down there praying, it's not gonna. I don't think it will transmit to the mat. That somebody can come and pray on that. So what makes sense is we should have actually applied the mask theory a long time ago. But now that we know, let's do that and gloves. And I get another thing. Education. The kids, they are missing something. Like Sam said, we don't have the technology in place in the Gambia to make sure that everybody is doing e-learning. E-learning is not feasible. If you cannot have a light, which we're gonna come to that. If you cannot have Con Edison doing their job to sustain the electricity of the country, how would you imagine somebody can be online? So that means the whole of this year, Gambian students haven't learned anything. So how they are here 1 year behind. I mean, with compared to the West, my kids have been going online since the COVID, so practically they are not missing much. But we need to factor this. And another thing is our small businesses. I understand, the whole idea of COVID spreading and all this thing, the businesses, we need to close businesses and so forth, open, 1 o'clock. I mean, open up to 1 o'clock and close. Listen, at this point, just like what everybody's doing, let's open our businesses because without them, we cannot employ our people. Without the small businesses, we're not going to be able to pay our taxes. We need the small businesses to operate so that our taxes can be paid, so that our revenue can go up. So I think the best idea that the borough government has done is to come and say they're going to reopen. This should have been done, I think, sooner. But I still would give them credit for doing it because if they had waited, the situation would have been more, worse. So I think everybody's on the same page on this reopening and making sure we sensitize more. I know might be sound a boring topic, COVID all the time, COVID. People might listen. It's not boring. It's our health. You know,
Right.
COVID is here to stay with us, so we have to talk about COVID until he hears us, and perhaps he or she might find a way how to disappear, like
To
Trump
go
said.
out.
So I will end with that. Let's the government and make sure that they they enforce it. You have to enforce it. Make sure that everybody, if they don't have a mask, let them not go into any public places. If you come to a store and you come to a restaurant make sure you wear your mask. You are covered. If not, don't allow them in. In the ferry, there should be someone or some enforcers, or let them buy a mask and give it to people. If they don't have mask, give them. I mean, masks don't cost that much. I mean, I understand Gambian standard it might, but there are a lot of donations that you can get from mask. Like today, somebody just texted me that their organization need mask and glove. I'm just gonna jump on it and give them. So let's assist, and people in the diaspora and other places, let's help our country. Let's help. There is no better time to help than this. Let's distribute food. Let's continue to do that. People who cannot afford it, so that we can sail through this critical situation together. Let's provide with masks. Let's provide with gloves. Whatever the need is to make sure that we mitigate this. I think at the end of the day, you know, the country will we will prevail. Yeah, but we are not in the strong economical standing to combat this because we fail. Politically, we fail. We failed since the get-go. When the coalition didn't go through, when we are not able to pull up with the international community, when we are not able to get, collaborate and work with other teams so that we can all work together. This is a world issue, not only Gambia. So that being said, I will let my panelists comment if they have anything, any questions or comments, or if anybody online want to comment, you can comment before we move to the next topic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something.
Yeah, go ahead,
Sawaneh,
Alex.
yeah, you are right, and some said it also. I think the people should only know that this thing, they should not even wait for Barrow to force them or give them a war or something. I think it's a collective responsibility for the whole Gambia. Not to say, okay, if I don't see a police, I don't need to wear my mask, things of that sort. People need to
Right.
understand, I think, that it's about your health and the health of your neighbor, the health of your relative, and so on. Because if you don't wear a mask, you get inside a taxi, somebody is having COVID there, you get something on your clothes, you know, you go home, you know, those people, they never saw this person, but you are giving them something at home. So that's why I used to say at the beginning, the life you save may be your own. You never know. So it's better. It should be a collective responsibility, which many people are practicing. To wear the mask without somebody telling you to do that. To know that this thing is dangerous and is real. You know, because there are still some people who don't want to be active and telling nonsense as usual because they are being fooled and given false information. So they have to be aware that this thing is there. If the big states are afraid of it, so Gambia should be active. And then again, Mr. Sawaneh, you talk about here about the businesses and so. I mean, that's why I said at the beginning, we can only try and see, as Sam said also, to make steps. Step one, we have to do that way. Step two, that way to see. Just like Europe, uh, they are seeing that it's getting more. They are trying to step back, for example, because it's just trial. Nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. So these things we have to be very careful. And again, Sam, you are right when you said that they should have informed the people even about this a month ago. That's a good plan. And even themselves to make a plan, how is it going to be when it open, and then come to the TV, tell the people how is their plan and how are they going to be, how are the schools going to behave in the schools, how are the businesses going to operate, things of that sort, so that there will be no stress. You understand? As usual, they don't inform maybe people very, very, very well. So when they say reopen, many people just understand half of the information and behave as they want. So the police will come and want to harass them, and they will not understand why is this police telling me this. because they said we have to reopen. But the reopening with what? And so people need to be also informed, so that the police, the security will have less stress, the people will have less stress. I mean, the communication is very important in these times, especially when you are trying to make flexible laws about the freedom of the people and the health of the people and things like that. It's not just pressing a button. We've seen that. You know that in your place too. And because nobody has a special recipe for this. It's new to the health people, to the economists, nobody knows, to the politicians. So to save us, it's just to take care. It should be a collective responsibility that everybody try to follow the rules and regulations and try to save himself, his neighbors, his relatives, his family. And I think it's okay.
You are on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah. So thank you that for Alice for that insight. So Sam, I have been to call to contribute to the show, but if you want to come in before Binta, I can just allow you to say something on this before we move to another one.
No, let's get her in. That's fine. Let's get Binta. Yep.
Okay, 1 second. Let me call her. So you want to contribute to the show? Okay, Binta, we have you online. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hello?
Okay. Alas, Abenyadi, Sam.
Yeah, fine, Binta. Abenyadi.
Yes, Binta.
You're welcome.
Sam.
Yes, Binta, how you doing? Uh-huh. Yeah, Benyadi. Uh-huh. Good.
Yeah.
Very, very, very poor.
Yep.
School ground nying jiol be patarin je dula be tinyaring kamul wolte mala kamul le fa wasta school ground nying to ando dindi woni ke ba e fam prevent no e tadu no la jiol nying kono but dindi wo da fam prevent no la tadu mo jiol kono
Yep.
to la talin nyana to la talin school ning education mo de chance to le ta e ta jibi our condition is very, very bad.
Sad, no?
Gambia government dan la kutile na comme ni ikan ila tara la school yele. Ikan ka so la kata school la condition o jibe before ba because dindi wala katara ngindulanto less than 10 years kata.
Yep.
Let's look at that.
Yep.
Education is the key of success. Ni education ite lapta kalondo wanyini iman jati kende asoto jati kende ani education la yanta tala nyola why ni ite ko ibe education osoto la ibe londo wanyini la iman health soto na ntaman na faja.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Most schools ila de la condition o bulu nyama italo na poni fa ta di.
Yep. That is true. Binta.
Right. And because dindi mo watalo na isa dumo sa ibe wo jino mo ko ne pata na je kamo the same thing so amante nyabo anda nakala government ko no wada ministry of education ita ita so bele ji ani men te ma ko ino kala yi ma ko condition o nyembe nyama pata talalo mande wala na contribution.
Very good point. If you don't mind, I can respond to this too. So,
okay. Thank you, Binta.
Binta Abaraka, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yemen Forteng is a very, very important point because Walatin Nanko Nkafoko always, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail because when you're planning Yunkonole, even Jamfango in America, Janin School of Bayela. Ye o bekele so velkele school be fonan jube disinfect yaje o wonyanta kala Gambia. In fact wala nan koy at least a month ahead jani nyanta ka communicate molye ka itandi la school be la wat jumale they can give themselves time to go back every school. Department of Education to more will India school around KGB be conditionment. Headmaster Sila found la school or GB, it a school be more conditionator. You report to the director of education in la Mafala. Saje is a mitigation process in place. One, nin kamol be in a very horrible condition, or kamol found yanta eliminate lally, yeah, another source GB. Whether in America is a porta potty will be sharing. While Kamwani Yantaka renovate a dada, I clean and disinfect, is the porta potty will use not temporarily. Or speaking all. And in classroom all come here for yamming, Dulal Mayalon course, a market can, I'm sure Jebe Bonajele, Dulal Besnanding, Jeben Noring, or be Yantaka process let the Mayalon call, and Yantaka or beta before sending kids back to school. You know, it's tano jela nin corrugator nyanta falina dami ye kodo spend ye corrugator bon yo bon corrugator bondi ye kutamal ke je ye tulani raku ka betia ye siron in tablet befite sene ye disinfect before kids can go back to school. All of this should be part of the plan. So lana planning in kumata back ye damin foting binta. Thank you so much for bringing that part, and that should be walatina nyaton kolu. You know, sometimes nimbe diamola ka lafile don ka silo itandi ka suggestional di, but what's all in that suggestion bako times it ka pay for, but yemen for thing is very important. It should be part of the plan. Inyanta ka long forward, they should know that janindi no be school to go back to school and check and survey and do all the necessary things to make sure the place is safe for the kids before they go back. Thank you, Binta.
Okay, definitely left the fendo. Thank you, Sam. You come moment for the yata back. Left the men la fala je welem. Come parents soul. Bintala kumo puru school la ila condition of Benjamin. Ngalon definitely school la karola bringing COVID nada masakunda mang imang mamare concentrated J fang. Mamare kumata saying school mantala caring fang in the expenses from betalala on that area. So saying it remember doing sambala, make sure nabita yala domorol prepare, yala drinking water, jioli yakabo yake kabol kono yadi dindingola. So nita the J isa fon la domoro domo andumbe pare isi la jiol ming. Ye hani mang karamo la jiol ming o karamo la domoro domo follow. So mem fanambe ke kan wala because you covered ning ay mol sobindi nyolal betonya fala na mantara nun komen benu nyame dindo litara karamoto alonko ibe jam fala nyolal domanding foni ma alonko covered memo covered de bani alo memo covered ibe jam fala nyolal domanding ba fala ko malo nyaso le foni yaso le so abe kolal domanding tijasol bulu because ibe fenel jela men yalo ko mantara kere non nundo mol free tale pour ka signo kanka kacha dindingol ka tulun but wol besi talano le wol dan bol aspect la le so prepare sol salon ko ning dindingol tada school asikeno ika fair nyaming o ika kontana nyaming pour ka wakil kata school wol betalala because ni sasa membe caring sana ni amoy ko modo be nyuna korda kono modo asoto jele nyuna korda kono modo asoto jele so wobe mol dol hakilol janjandal demanding bari mbe mentan la dindo la walam ntul man loki o ma do ko ke to the point that na banko nsi crown keno online so mank choice so ida ngata karam moto warante karana so nyine beje naro non ibe tubab dule o area men technology so isi computer di dindo wala ka jay ka computer di dindo dinding ye internet ye la programme beke online so dindo sit ji aninti jesu aninti telle nyabula nyakono ba fule keten nyinke ta nyin page carry nyin doku sivake but gambe be nyame ade kenola momi yalon ko electricity from courant wal buko fongo sodo no anyama amasi bolem mote among possible fang pour que online fang ko fang try so dinol aning alfa ibaro inantamelo na wala hey mitakan karamu tole sawote na je funga kara sai lala no anin kamola no o masakunda dokulal ito lang to o ko responsibility yin tala yeah make sure that at least you provide ni one don't provide no ojo maybe parents also okay no putting kamala their kids you know I cannot expose back to COVID but didn't know bita jonkon la damin to provide no la parents also provide no la so I'll jonkon dada Ali didn't know the serial dada and other things focus on that anila program or learning program didn't know later karamala because we have no other choice and you just see no sanji killing sanji fula imanta karamodo that means you over life konole among fair ya fahamle so nyina be caring so na masakunda nanta akatala bakele you deflect resource from other places yeah somebody no la karamun kodo I mean that's something me alonko is a priority education is the key okay there is no doubt about that so alanga kata back and go follow Binta thank you so much for your contribution if Alas has anything else
Okay, Binda.
let us know
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very sad. You know, I wanted to even say it because I mentioned here also that how these people are doing it here with this distancing. If you were having 50 people in a class, the reopening doesn't mean that the 50 people are going to sit in their places again because of this COVID. So you'll see that they take half, say 25 people will be there maybe, or some will do it from home, as Sam said, uh, uh, because you have this law, 1.5 meter, left and right, front and back. So if you have 25 of these kids, then the class is full. So they have to take the other 25 in another class, or some will
exactly
do it online. But these are all things we don't have in the Gambia, but still they can reopen, but with these precautions. How they are going to do it there, whether they even have a plan for it, I don't know. And most of them is going to cost money. And this money, I don't know whether it's still there. I know that we got support for the COVID. Everybody knew that. But I don't know whether it's still there. Because this reopening can also cost the government something because they are going to do certain things, which includes also investigation of money. So if this money is no more there, that means reopening, we even going to more dangerous place than even to the best. You know what I mean? So I mean, if I see certain schools, for example, and that is before the COVID, that some kids are sitting on a brick, you know, on a brick because they don't even have a chair to sit. And that is before the COVID-19. I don't know which place that is, but it was just sad to see that it's from the Gambia, the picture, you know. So, I mean, now with the COVID, and to say that, okay, you need another class for the kids, and so I don't think the government and the Gambia is prepared for the whole thing, you know. Which was known that it will come to a point that Gambia have to invest in certain cases to protect the people, whether it's buying masks or people stay home, they don't go to work, and you have to compensate them. And so, not to mention, I know that the Gambia government would not do that because when we cannot give the kids a chair to sit. So in this case, this situation, we just have to see how to maneuver with the situation. I've never seen somebody arrested because of corruption with this 4 years government. So you tell me, and the whole world knows that Gambia is one of the most corrupted places. Do you have explanation for me, Mr. Swan? There must be something wrong. Either high. So I would not be surprised when we have to invest now for the COVID and there is no money there. You understand? Then people should ask, why are we short of money? What is the problem?
Right.
And where is it gone? You know, that's why I always talk about these are all products on fruits from corruption. Once we don't stop it, we'll be always having problem in our place. Any problem you see there now, just think of my words. It's a product and a fruit of corruption. And for Gambians, we think that it's a normal life. We take it as normal. It's a daily living. Nobody even sees it because it's too much there that people think everything is normal. Even if somebody blow the bank, building houses, driving big cars and so, it's normal. With a salary of $2,000, it's normal. People don't ask for it because it's normal. So you can see how and where Gambia is. You know, 2017, Gambia is categorized in one of the most corrupted places. Just imagine, which is the same. You
Right.
know? So in that case, being a head, I think I have to just put the bulb on and say, hey, and what is going on? Even people are talking about it outside. Then that means where I am and my inner circle or my workers or I don't know, servants, there's something wrong. So, but nobody sees that. We're going to 4 years now. The anti-corruption bill we've been fighting it since 2016. And where is it? Even Barrow this time is not going to be blamed. Is there the people who should have taken action to make sure that Barrow signed that the first day in arm is in their house there. They're putting it, I don't know, somewhere in the box. So you can just imagine
Yeah.
because it's a daily life and a normal thing in the Gambia, which is very dangerous for our society. Nobody sees that. You know, even if you are corrupt, you are praised, Mr. Sawaneh. You are a good man because anytime I see you give me $100, it's a normal thing. You know, and that's how they try to cover it. You know, people cannot see that this money is theirs. So unless we go to that stage that people try to analyze and know what's going on, then I think that will help us. So now we are having this situation of COVID. So the next thing is where is the money? Maybe what Minister of Health said, maybe there is nothing now because nobody took action. He made the alarm, informed the people, informed the government, informed the parliament, who took action. And normally what he said should not have been his words. These words would have come from the parliament or from opposition. So there too you can ask what's going on. You know, even the topic they used to avoid it. If you talk about anti-corruption law and no. So you can see the reaction also in the parliament. You know, you have good ones, but some you can just say go ahead. We
Alice,
don't know.
they don't want to be the first to go to jail. So that's why.
This quietness,
Because
quietness is a suspect. You know, this quietness is a suspect. Because everybody knows what's going on, and nobody talks. Only the health minister talk. That's why I have a big respect for this man because he's real. He's real. You can only be clean to talk about. If you are not clean, you cannot talk about. That's why this silence. You know, that's why I said if we don't stop it, we'll have problems. Because for many people, it's a daily life. You know. So unless you have a head who is going to stand and say, look, people, stop this because we need this money in case of emergency. And this COVID is a test to a lot of heads, a lot of states. Nobody expected it, but it's there. It's a test to show you that you always have to be prepared for emergency, keep money back. In terms of emergency, you don't need to go around and beg, but you can still try and go with what you have. Especially these times, even the biggest countries, the biggest economies, they are having this problem, economical problem. So the problem is that maybe, let us not wish that they have more problems than thinking to help. And you take a state like Gambia, who is living only from donors, loans, and grants can have a problem. So if the Gambia government never kept anything aside, so now come the time of investigation, you want to tell the Gambian people you don't have money for it. It's very sad because it's not planned. In fact, if I was Barrow, that's the time I even have to stop the road constructions and think of the health of the people first.
Yeah, because they cannot do that because
Prioritize that. That should be prioritized. The health of the people.
Yeah.
You can see how we are dying. I mean, there is a report that the corona is not that serious in Africa than in Europe even.
Yeah.
Because but it's there. People
Yeah.
just that we have a little bit of resistance, but people are dying from it. Look at Facebook. Anytime you go to Facebook, you see only advertisement. Announcement. You know, and that is not normal. People should also open their eyes. That's not normal. You know, every time you go to Facebook, you see die, die, die. But nobody talk about this person got COVID or so because our mentality. We are always, we always want to show the good side of us. So, but that is the thing. You can ask yourself, why is this frequent now in the time of COVID? I mean, the white people, they tell you what happened, but for us, we always try to keep things into that. But I know that this thing is real, it's there in the Gambia on killing Gambians. We have to be real.
Yeah. Thank you for Alice for that. Again, Sam, you want to come in or you want us to go to the next topic?
Well, I don't want to waste too much time. I think Alice raised a very important part here, the corruption part. I think we just have to make that its own subject because it's just there's too much into it, and if I want to continue to talk about that, we'll be here for a couple more hours. So we don't have that time. So
All right.
I
So
think we can move on. We can move on to the next one. Alice said quite a bit on this already.
Yeah, somebody just said that the school principal should invite all the parents to the school to clean up before opening the school. The government will not do it. Somebody, Fatu Ndur, said that on Facebook. And I think she's right. If we sit down and wait for this government, we will sit for a long time. I mean, like, let the citizens and the parents and then the principals clean the school and try to make sure that at least they can safely use the toilets, and the bathrooms for our children.
Well, I will say something to that, since that's the same topic that we're talking about, and she is right. Whoever sent that, Fatu, thank you so much for saying that. It is true. We may not see that money from the government since the Minister of Health went to National Assembly and showed how the money was being monopolized and how it's being kind of distributed among themselves, and which was not intended for. So we may not see any money from the government to help support the schools. So parents, if all responsible parents want to know where their kids are going. If I'm a parent, yes, it is true that school principals definitely need to call a school meeting, and this should be all part of the organization, the planning. Call a meeting, have the parents go in there. So parents also, I'll be curious if I'm a parent. I want to go into the school and see where my kids are going to. Where are they going to sit? What are they going to eat? Where is the restrooms? Where is everything? How is the condition of the classrooms? And look at all of that. And knowing that there's not going to be any support from the government, it'll be a time to say, hey, let's do a team effort here and do what we can to be able to accommodate our kids in here. Because if schools are in deteriorating conditions, that need to be fixed before kids can come to school. So great point, great topic. Great suggestion there. I totally agree with our parents need to go and check that out.
So I want to add to this before we move to the next topic. I want to ask, why is this government not interested in social infrastructure rather than in physical infrastructure? I sometimes pound my head when it comes to Gambia's situation. This is not a joke. this government and even prior governments, they don't look into the social infrastructure of the country, the social well-being of the people. What they do, and Jammeh did this, and Barrow government is doing it, they want to make political statements to earn votes by building bridges, building infrastructures as like a physical entity that when somebody passed by and say, this person did this, it did that. But when it comes to social infrastructure like medicines, like schools, school food, school sanitation, school education, things that are not visible, but they impact our lives to become a better person, they are not too much interested in that. Why can't our people see that those are the most important thing than a physical infrastructure? Right now, infrastructure is good. It can make communication easy, but people's well-being, who they become, education, investment in education and technology, those are not amount, those are the most important. And those are an investment that will bring more revenue down on the road. So I think it's high time for Gambian people, when they are judging their leaders, let them look at these things. Social infrastructure, your medical, your medicines. To build a hospital is great, but if there's no medicine in it, like Jammeh used to do, there's no point. You gotta get the medicine there. But these leaders think they are smart. They're not. Only people who are not seeing it, maybe they are smarter than those, but people who understand what make a human being better and greater, those people will know these people are just making empty and physical, things to earn vote. So I think we need to educate our citizens. That's why this kind of platform is great for that. But we will pass that, and we'll have more to discuss on that
Yeah,
when
Mr.
the
Now,
time
Sawaneh.
comes.
You know, you know, you know, you
it's
know,
true. It's true. We
when
need to go on. We need to move on. But this is opening up more doors because, like I said in the past, it's important that when a government come in place, the first time they come in place, to sit down and have a plan and prioritize. It's very important to prioritize. I know Gambia has hundreds of problems. I know that, but we need to be able to prioritize what's important: healthcare of everyone, the education of everyone, all of these, cost of living in Gambia. These are things that are priority. There is a lot of priority, but the priorities also need to be prioritized into bucket number A, B, and C. A meaning something that we have to accomplish, we have to tackle this year, cannot wait till next year. Okay, B, anything that doesn't fall into A, but is also in the verge of collapse and can wait until next year, let's put that on the priority B, and then go to priority C. C is something that can be that we can try to sustain for another couple of years, and then tackle it after priority A and B have been taken care of. So these are the things that our government fails to do. We see this government after government. There are very important priorities, things that are of paramount importance, have been left aside, and they go tackle something that's really only benefit a small community in the middle of nowhere. Okay, because if you build a road in somewhere, um, yes, that road is important to those people, but what does it do for the whole country? Nothing. So these are the things that we have to prioritize. But anyway, we can move on, because if we get into that, it'll be too much to talk about. Definitely.
you're right. So
Right. All right. Perfect. So now that brings us to Nawet. Folks, Nawet is an issue since the beginning of this government. Nawet, we thought when Jammeh was leaving, it was bad, and it became bad when this government took over, and it became a little better, and it's back to being bad again. Is it the poor management, or is it that the government is not putting an emphasis or putting weight to make sure that Gambia is electrified? All Gambian at all corners of the Gambia be able to at least have an electricity 24/7. What is wrong with us? Why can't we do that? Why can't we just do that as a priority? Besides having to get food on the table, that's one thing that we should. Because you know why? First of all, without electricity, people cannot do their businesses. They cannot store their food and then their items in a cold place to be able to sell them. People's livelihood is on electricity, the technology, the workplace. People's life to get to better their life is on on electricity. At this point in time, unless people cannot afford it individually, everybody should be able to have access to electricity and clean water. Why is it that since independence, 50 something years, we still are not able to get stable electricity? Is it poor management? Is it that our governments are not effective enough? Is it that the citizens don't care, that they want to live in darkness and then not able to do things to better themselves because they are not making emphasis on this? Is it that we have crooks working in Nawet? Let's just tell the truth. This thing needs to stop. I'm telling you, if you're a leader of the Gambia, you should make sure whoever, much resources is allocated to this area, and whoever is managing this delivers. Otherwise, get rid of the person. And if they steal, lock them up. That's where corruption comes into place. So I'm gonna allow, our panelists to jump in this. So who's gonna build the card?
I can start this one.
All right.
Just like I was saying, prioritizing is very important, and it all starts when a new government comes in place, even an ongoing as part of a government. But when a government come in place, a new government is elected, a new president is elected to run a country, he needs to see, he or she needs to sit with his team and team of experts and look at and list down the problems in the country that needs to be addressed. Out of that list, prioritize. And NAWIC, where electricity and water is part of infrastructure. And you know what? Even in building an economy, one of the good things to build an economy is to have a good infrastructure. That includes electricity and water supply. If you want to invite and encourage private investors and encourage outside investors to come and invest in Gambia, you have to have a stable electricity, stable water, high-speed internet. These are very crucial. Electricity and water are part of basic fundamental human rights. We all have the right to do that. We need to have them. They are basic necessities. We all need everyone, every household need to deserve to have electricity 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And of course, water supply. Water is, you can't, I can go without electricity, but I cannot go without water. Water is more important. Okay. If you don't have electricity, you can use your candles, you can use flashlights. But if you don't have water, how are you going to drink? How are you going to eat? How are you going to cook? How are you going to perform ablution and wudu and go pray? How are you going to, think about all of this, all the sanitation that need to, how are we going to wash our hands to eat? All of these are very important, very crucial. So it should have been on top of the priority list for the government to sit and say, what do we need to do, especially a president that comes in and say, what do we need to do to fix this problem? I want to know. I want to know it now. I'm going to task a task force, do our research and tell me what we need to do. If we have to cut down all expenses in other areas or expenses in other areas like travel, unnecessary travel, people that are traveling all over and collecting a bunch of per diem and bringing and coming to the country and building big houses. And what they go to travel for, we don't see any benefit from it. We don't see anything that they bring to us. So I'm going to cut all those travel expenses. I'm going to invest that and say, you know what? Let's focus on building a good electricity system in our country. Let's start somewhere. it's important to start somewhere, because if you don't start somewhere, you're not going anywhere. See, it's very important. So we need to look at management too, because I've recently seen in the government, we all know, and we've all seen this, and this is on the news. We've seen people doing a great job in certain area, and all of a sudden they get removed, and we bring somebody else in, maybe because of political reasons, and that someone in is not fulfilling even the job requirements, let alone meeting the expectations of the people. So these are all important. We need to look at who are we going to place where. Someone that has the experience, the background, the knowledge to make a difference. Someone that's going to think outside of the box and think about what can we do. Let's set goals. Let's set goals and smart goals for that reason. Goals that we are going to be able to meet, and come up with a budget and present that budget to government and say, if we want to fix this problem, here's what we need to do. Someone that can form that team and do that, and work with the government and make their recommendations. That way, if anything, you can say, I have done my part. If we want to solve electricity or water supply in the Gambia, this is what we need to do. And if that get presented to the president should say, yeah, this is a priority. Let's do everything we can. Let's make this happen. Let's get this happen. Water supply, electricity is very important. Right now, it's very sad, very, very sad. People go for hours without any water supply in their homes, but we expect them to wash their hands because of COVID-19. All right, and kids are staying home. We want them to study, but there's no electricity, and they cannot do anything online. Of course, we're not even close to being there. It's very sad to see things like that happen in our country. And I'm going to stop here for now and allow all of you to chime in, and I may come back later. But electricity and water supply as part of our infrastructure really need to be prioritized and need to be addressed.
Thank you, son.
All right, thank you. Alice.
Yeah, Mr. Sawaneh.
Now what?
I think Sam has already said a lot. You know, this problem, I talked about it a lot, but I even thought that it's not going to be anything, because since 2016, we are talking about it. Those days, I even talked to the manager. I don't know. I think it's the person who is no more there. Those days, to ask them that why can't they try to focus on green energy, you know? Because Gambia is one of the poorest countries, and then still uses costly means of, you know. So he was telling me, yeah, they know they are trying to change everything. They have a partner about these things and la 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 la. That was 2016. So we don't talk about this. I think now it's even another person there, you know. So yeah, these are the problems we have, you know. So those days they said they bought 2 new generators. I say, look, people, you know how many millions, and everybody was celebrating. That was just yesterday. So today they cannot tell us these generators are not working, that they have to be putting lights out every now and then. So that means what did they buy there? You know? Or as usual, they take sometimes the money and say they are going to buy a car. They buy a second-hand car, you know, and give it a new color, you know, and bring it and say it's costing this amount.
They inflate the money.
They even bring you a bill, original bill, you know. But when you look under the car, you yourself will know that something is not correct. But these are things their daily life. I just talk about it. These are things happening, and it's a very normal thing. So we should not wonder when the next day this car is not working, and nobody will ask about it because the bill is already done. So that is one thing. And the next thing is what I always wanted to say is Gambia being the poorest country in the world, we are having water, we are having wind, we are having sun. These things are not costing us anything. You look at the Europeans, they don't have all these things. And they themselves, if you come to Germany, for example, they themselves, everywhere is turning. Windmill, windmill. Even in the sea, the North Sea, because they don't have place. They go to the sea and build these things there. You know, they are all rotating. This is electricity, and they have the money. You know, so we are poor, don't know what to eat, and having all these things, these resources, and trying to focus on generator. Then you should ask yourself something is going wrong.
We
You
are
know
not
what
we
I
are
mean?
not innovative at all.
No, this thing is not about innovate. To be innovative or not. It's about personal interests, if you want to be frank.
Okay.
You understand? You know what I mean? I don't just want to come to point. Everybody
Now come to
knows.
point.
If I need, for wind, you cannot be corrupt. For water, you cannot be corrupt. For sun, you cannot be corrupt. How? There are no doors. You understand what I mean? So doors are when we take these police generators, so that you always have excuses. You can always transact certain false papers. Nobody will know about what's going on. You know, the deal must be there. The share must be there. That's why they are very attractive. If you ask certain people, they'll tell you, "Oh, let Barrow buy even more generators." You know why? So these are the things we have.
So technically, the generator people can be able to
Yeah,
maneuver
yeah, it's flexible.
to their personal pocket.
It's flexible. You know.
Okay.
In the Gambia, that's how things goes. That's why even if you want to do something, people will ask you, "What is my share?" That's the deal of today. You know. So certain things people do it not thinking of the Gambia but themselves. So and then that's where the next problem is. You know. And what Sam said is true. Before we can invite investors, you need to have also these things. I mean, one like road is okay, bridge is okay, electricity must be. And when for the government, all these things are important things, then they have to also sit and prioritize which one should we do. Just as I said, it's all nice with roads and so because I saw the road Barrow was trying to open and the problems the people had, and that's for many years. Many people don't know it. I think it was also a very good move to help those people and so, you know. But we are talking of also these problems like this health and so. So in this time of COVID, then they have to sit and say to prioritize. What I would say, okay, now it's emergency. Now we are opening the schools. The danger is there that we have even more COVID than before because of this and that and that and that. So how are we going to solve this problem? I mean, it's going to cost money. That's why these people help us with COVID money. So if we
Right.
misuse it, it's our own problem because we cannot go again and ask them. They themselves are also having their problems, their economical problems. I mean, look at America, three trillion. You know, uh, America don't have it, so it's just plus credit. We don't talk about the interest of that amount. You know, okay. So I mean, helping us doesn't mean that they have to, especially these times. They are having more problems, the West. So the little we have in the Gambia, we have to be very, very economical and know how to do it and try to stop corruption. That some people take it and think other people don't have problems, or the Gambia don't have problem, only they have problem. So that should stop because here is about to live or to die. Because when we don't have money and have these economical problems also, I promise you, Gambia will be hurt. And then the poor people are going to suffer. That's the saddest thing about it. Only the poor people will suffer. So to
Right.
be real and try to stop this nonsense and try to control the economy, if they give us $10, we have to sit and think and how to use this $10 because we don't have anything. We are beggars. So if a beggar, as they used to say, has no choice, that's why it's difficult to have a respect because you beg people. They give you what they want, how they want it, and they can even control you, how you are going to use it. So on the other hand, we talk about sovereignty. We can forget that. How? When we are just begging every day, and the people giving us money, they are stakeholders automatically. You want it, you like it or not. You understand? To avoid that, we have to do like Rwanda. We have to stop all these nonsense. If I just see now, that is how many years gone, I've never seen in the news that Barrow arrested this person because he was corrupt. You understand?
Mm.
So people should ask what's going on because everybody knows what's going in the Gambia. But nobody can answer this question. So that is also a big question. So he should react and try to make his laws and try to push it and make sure that we go forward and then they try to preserve our economy there. It's normally there is no economy there. I mean, the 10 bullets we have there that people try to solve certain problems like the COVID problem, that they try to prioritize that and then stop certain projects and then try to push that, which should not be because there should have been enough money for everything. You understand what I mean? Normally, it's no economic emergency there when everything was controlled. Just imagine how many millions was pumped there. Even the Jame, the money Jame took, Gambia got that again. So there's no excuse to say Jame took that. They got this money from Europe back. So that was finance. So then come to the things they sold also and all these corruption things. They cannot say that they don't have money for certain projects. And then even for money for the COVID, there should be no excuse to say they cannot buy the kids mask, they cannot buy medicine and all these things. The money should be there.
Wow.
If it is not there, it should be controlled. Who took it? As some used to say, they have to audit it from beginning to the end. But they will not do it, and nobody will ask because he himself took part of it. You understand? That's the situation we are in the Gambia. But it should be audited from the airport to the last butut where it is spent. That's how you can control your economy. If not, forget it. You can talk here from morning to evening, it stays the same or worse. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Alice, thank you for that. Now, this brings to, again, the same issue, corruption. If you look at it, everything is pointing to corruption. So I think, we have to really have a government in place that can fight corruption instead of encourage corruptions. I think this is the way that our institution can work better, including NAWET. Because what you guys have spoken, I listen, there are other options Alas mentioned, like the air. The wind can be used, the solar, other things to help us with electricity. But the reason why they are encouraging to buy generators, and after a while, generator will have a problem buying generators, those people know what they are doing. And what they are doing is not favoring the Gambia. It's an avenue for them to steal. I'll come straight to the point. An avenue for corruption. What they're stealing, they themselves know. But this kind of behavior, generators have been bought. I remember when Barrow came, they said that they're probably doing more to get our electricity on track. But again, this is why leadership come in place. If you are in charge, you gotta make everybody accountable. But you cannot get it both ways. You want your country to stand out at the same time playing political games. Oh, I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to fire this person. I will lose votes. I want to become president for so long. So I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. You hurting your country because of what you don't want to do, which is right. Get rid of them. Put the right people there who you can hold accountable. Who will make sure that the electricity is supplied across the board? To electrify Gambia, my friend, it's not that much of a work. We have it. We can do it. Either we don't know how to do it, or we are doing something wrong that is hurting ourselves. So, like you said, if the machines are getting failed, look into things like the wind that you're talking about, the solar, other stuff that can help electrify the country. And when it comes to clean water, this is an essential. Like Sam said, I can probably go without electricity for a day or two, but I cannot go without water. And to tell you the truth, you don't want people to be drinking contaminated water. You don't want that. So those waters that are contaminated will cause you more harm than good. So if people don't have good drinking water, they're going to be drinking contaminated water that people don't have ideas about, and that waters that are not been tested. So I think for now, they need to look into the way the organization works. I mean, the company works. First, the government has to get a grip, make them accountable, see what they're doing. If even send an independent audit everything from top to bottom, make an analysis, do a survey, see what is going wrong, which area need to be improved, analyze the data, make statistic analysis of what can be done, where the problem is. If you do these things, you will get to the bottom of the problem and create a budget. Have the ministry that now it falls under be in charge to make sure that these things that are recommended from the survey data and other things are implemented. Come on, Gambia government, what do you want? You want us to teach you how to do these things? People are paying people to do these things. If they are not capable, maybe we can be a volunteer. We can come and volunteer to do this. But these are things that can be done. People are there to come and work, and then they need to find out what's the problem. With now, there's no excuse. I'm calling somebody in the Gambia, they say, oh, I cannot call you back because the light went off. Or it's too dark and too hot because there's no light. I'm burning in my house. I cannot sleep. And this person has to go to work the next day. Somebody told me that. Now, the lights just go off. And my fan is not working, I cannot sleep. How is that person going to produce? And that person is a civil servant. We are destroying our own thing. How many businesses are losing power and their foods are getting destroyed? Their business goods are getting destroyed. So I think it's about time. I understand the government's effort to make better and their promises, but if something is not going right, either the money is not there, or they are doing the wrong thing, or they are not holding people accountable. Let me tell you something. Somebody said this earlier. Gambian, our problem is taking things and selling it from our work. We have seen that in medical in the hospitals. People take medicines and take it their own personal pharmacies. So what make you think that now it will not do that? People will not take stuff there and use it on their personal gain. It's possible. People even take things and sell it. Sell it to other people. People working at these institutions. So that's why this anti-corruption board should be in place. We should make sure that these things are prosecuted to set an example. Again, we can blame the government as much as we can, but our citizens are also part of the problem. If you're not getting paid well, I would recommend, or paid enough to feed your family, I would recommend the government and the National Assembly to look at people's pay rates. Let the government be able to deserve the pay that they need. This should be prioritized, because you cannot have a family of 5 and you're getting paid $2,000. I said this before. Doesn't make sense. Just because I have a job, $2,000 is not gonna even put a table for 5 days. What would I do? I would steal anything I come across. And this is another problem. The National Assembly should be on top of that. Make sure that they look at the quality of life for a Gambian, for a family, and make sure that they match their pay rate to that. This will also help us control some of these corruptions. But of course, I don't want somebody to come and be living lifestyle, want to steal because of that. But if people cannot make their basic meal, they cannot afford it because the pay rate is so low. That is inhumane. That's not humanity. So these are areas that is a lot of things wrong, Sam said, in the Gambia. You don't even know where to start fixing. If you want to start fixing, you probably will have 10 in front of you to debate about which one to fix first. But this is the job of the government. This is the job of our leaders. This is why we put you there. You are our servant. We put you there to be able to do this work. So
yeah, there, Mr. Sawaneh,
I will leave it up for that. If you guys have anything, we can wrap it up. Yep.
I just wanted to say something very quickly. You know, our problem is the fact that we don't produce. We living from import. You know, everything. Look, even onions. We're waiting for the seed to come. You understand? These are things we should have even exported and get money.
Mm.
So everything should come ready-made from Europe. And when it comes, because of importation, that is giving our dollars a big problem. You know, now we go to economics. You know, that is going to weaken the dollars because of this foreign exchange, and through that we have inflation. You know, that means things will be costly in the Gambia, and that have been happening all these years. You know, the tendency is going on. You know, so you see that there was a time, even if you have $2,000, is a lot of money. You understand? You don't need to steal. But because of the inflation, that things are very costly. Living is very costly. You know, that even the salaries of the people is not enough to cope with it. You understand? So when some are not afraid of God, they will try to steal, like Sawaneh said, you know, because it's not enough. And they want to live the life they wanted in the past also. But through the inflation, the dollar is down, that what you could have done with $1, you are doing it now with 10, when your salary is still stagnant. You know, I mean, the government tried. They tried to, Barros tried to adjust the salaries. But it's still not enough because the inflation rate is going in the Gambia higher and higher because we are living more and more from importation. That should stop. The last time I said it here also, the government should try and encourage agriculture. All what we can do ourselves, let the people try and do it, and let the government support that so that people will be busy and active. Many people they like to do the agriculture. They don't want to walk around Serekunda market selling just one spray or two tomatoes. Nobody would want to waste his time. So these are hours. These are hours and time they could have used it more in agriculture. So when the government encourages that and give them this opportunity, where they are going to even have more money and doing at the same time what they like. You understand? But these are things the government should be active because we cannot stop live from importation. Look at sardines. Last time I gave this example. The sardines are kite from our doors. Bring it here, put it in a can, send it back to us, and we wait for the ship to come and go to the shop and pay a lot of money. And the person here sending it back, putting it in can, is a billionaire. You know, so that's what I used to say. We have to wake up. It's nice to sit and then the ship will come and bring the bags of onion and so, and then we run and buy. These are things before we used to produce it ourselves. Gambia is a good land. Anytime you throw a seed, it will grow. This one, God gave it to Gambia, so we have to use it. Whether it's rice or look at Kenya. I told you the last time this example. They are importing in Germany flowers, a kind of flower. You know how many millions they are making just because the government sees it's something good. So they make these farms and then employ people. So they bring these flowers to Germany. These people don't eat it. It's just for decoration. But Kenya is making millions from, you know, and employing his people, you know, for doing nothing, just to harvest and then, the plane is there at the airport every day. These people, they never have enough from flowers, So we have to rethink. We have to think, not only to just sit and wait till the sardine come, till the onion come, and that is the inflation. Because anytime we import something in the Gambia, there's the foreign exchange, the dollar is getting weaker. And the more we do that, the weaker. And then the inflation. When things come, it will be costly in Gambia, which people cannot afford again because of their salaries. You understand? So it's a chain, unless it's broken somewhere, and try to find ways how we can go to the next level. But then again, Baron need people who can think too far, not just because he voted me. He can be a minister. He can do that. These are very important, vital places. You should think about the people you give if you want to go forward as a government. This old mentality these African presidents used to have before. If we don't change it, many countries have changed already. That's why they are proceeding. If Gambia don't change that, either we are stagnant or we're going backwards because the time is running too fast. If you are a president, your education is not that far or your experience, it's no problem, you know. But you have educated Gambians there who can help. Take them on your side, not your party members or your old friends. If you want to rule the country, use these resources God give you. You have very intelligent Gambians there who can support you, help you, so that you can move, even if you don't know much. Do that, then the Gambia will be okay. You are not doing it just for yourself, but for the people, for the Gambia. That's my advice, and I think it's enough.
All right. Thank you so much, Alice. A final word, Sam.
Yep. Say my final words and then wrap it up here for me. But talking about Nawak, just like Alice said, he just reminded me of that. There's a lot of opportunities that our country has, being, I would say, the smallest one out there. in that sub-region there, it should be easy to really bring water and electricity supply into the Gambia. And one of the things that we don't do very well in Gambia is to learn from our mistakes. If we've used certain sources to be able to get electricity and we're getting all the generators or generators that are remodeled and things like that, we really can shift from generators to solar power. We can do that. And there's a lot of sunshine in Gambia. There's a lot of different ways, that we can get electricity and water supply in Gambia. But my take is, as a leader, a president, there are certain things when you come into power that you prioritize. And there are certain things that you're going to have to step up and cut the middleman out. The middleman is the one taking our money. Cut the middleman out by directly going out to approach other countries that can help us with electricity and good water supply, and negotiate with your experts and negotiate better deals out there, and then bring them to our country. Be the one that's going to champion this, and you're going to be the one that's going to launch this out to our country by cutting the middleman out, so that when you make that deal, by the time you're ready to sign that agreement, you already know how much it's going to cost. There's nothing else that's going to be part of that. So a minister or a director cannot say this is how much it is and inflate that price, that amount for you. You already know the deal. You micromanage this part because it's very important. It's a priority. And you want to put this on your legacy to make sure that there's good water and electricity supply in our country. I will take the lead and go find it myself, come back with all the details and say, here's what it is. Sign that contract with a company and say, this is what we want you to do for our country. Come back and report to our country. Report to your people. We've made arrangements. We've made negotiations and got into a contract to bring water and electricity supply into the whole country. This is what it's going to be. And put that foundation there. At that point, you've already cut any middleman. Nobody taking anything, want to get a little bit of here and there and there and there out of it. No, it's all done. And nothing is going to go into anybody's hand, but that you're going to be dealing with that company that's going to build that for us in our country. And then we go from there. Everything has a stage. Everything starts from planning, and all the things that need to come in planning need to go in there. And that's the time you sit with your technocrats and entrepreneurs and all of those people that are going to help you to do this. But this is something you got to hold the bull by the hand. I mean, by the horn, to make sure that you get it right yourself. That I think doing something like that for electricity and water will be very important. It would be nice for a president to get up and just do it yourself, and cut that middleman out there. On the other hand, when it comes to corruption, like I said earlier, there's corruption is huge. There's so much into corruption that really need to stop. And I would really recommend the government to look for people with loss prevention mindset, also entrepreneurs and technocrats, and bring experts and teams that will go in and survey our country, survey different departments where we're losing opportunities to make money and generate more revenue for our country, and also places where we can do to close all the loopholes. When we close the loopholes, so we can hold that money in our country and reinvest that back into our community in our country to move Gambia forward. We've been sitting in one place for a long time, and sometimes even going backwards instead of moving forward. So that's what we need to avoid by getting those technocrats and entrepreneurs and experts and people that can come in and help and get those done. And I know I'll be one of those people that will volunteer to be part of those people that can go into places where we can close loopholes. I'm not very smart, but I can close loopholes. I can tell you where loopholes are. All I have to do is see what you guys are doing, and I can say, yep, I know. Now I know. This is what they do. Here's how we close the loopholes. We can close all these loopholes and bring all that money into our country. So, but for now, thank you all very much.
Thank you. So come to the end of this program. It's about an hour and something. So I thank you guys. This is, I know, is a very, very important topic. again, folks might not take it seriously, but reopening and with COVID, and also like making sure now it delivers so that every Gambian can have access to electricity and clean water. These are very important. I hope the government and folks take responsibility and also use this kind of information to improve where improvements are needed. And again, this is a civic education show. We are not here to bash anyone, but to say it as it is from an opinion stand of view. And we try to be fair as much as possible in our analysis and give what ideas that we can come up with to kind of help solve the problem. So we are not an expert, super expert in anything. We are ordinary citizens, just committed to come out here and give you our basic, opinions of things that we think could help our country do better. So I thank you all. These great guys are great, and then our viewers, they're great. Most people watch it after the show because of time differences and so forth. But share it among your groups, and then let the information travels, because we need this. We need this
Okay.
sensitization. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sawaneh. Thank you very much. Sam.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you very
Guys.
much. Yeah. We'll see you all again next Sunday.
Next
Yeah,
Sunday.
okay.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam.